after 4 leadership changes, vast amounts of political, economic, and social upheaval, rapid market disruption, and the loss of key talent, the senior leader sat across from me, shaking her head and kind of putting her head in her hands and said, we've got to stabilize the team and we've got to stabilize the broader organization. Heck, I gotta stabilize my own leadership. Another leader piped in and said, man, it just feels like a house of cards. And if we pull the wrong card, what then? Everything, it feels like, could collapse. And while logically I know that we have a solid strategy in place, it feels like things could just topple over. One domino after another, one kind of card falling after another. Where do we start? And as we gathered together to really think through how to face into all the disruption that had been hitting this organization, this team, and these leaders since, well, for months, but certainly even more inherently so since February of this year, we paused and reflected that while it is tempting to actually want to stabilize the organization, and while meeting employees and leaders where they're at and acknowledging the emotional upheaval, the uncertainty, the fear, the anxiety, the doubt, meeting people where they are for the pain and the loss, especially of key talent or of missed opportunities, of plans that had yet to be realized, and acknowledging how far there was yet to go. While that's important to emotionally kind of calm the nervous system of the team and the employees, it was a little too tempting to want to stabilize even more so in strategy, structure, processes, and even beliefs and motivation, so that we would avoid this rare opportunity. And so we began to consider that maybe, just maybe, it is exactly what needed to happen in order for us to consider what's wanting to emerge amidst all of this disruption. Maybe the strategies and the structures, the things that felt like they were about to crumble, are an invitation right now to pause and look at them in a new way, to consider, are we adding the greatest value in the way that we have been structured, the way we have been thinking about this organization, its mission, its purpose, the way that it adds value to its customers, the team, how we add value to one another, how we interact, and at a personal level, how we are showing up to galvanize energy to deliver on what's most important. Reinventing for the next chapter, whether it's delivered to you by choice, chance, or crisis, or some combination of the three, right? Always involves rethinking and renewing ourselves in ways that are deeply, inherently uncomfortable. What's up, everybody? I'm Leanne Del Carpio, and I really want to explore the power of reinventing for a new chapter at a organizational, a team, or individual level, because I believe this is one of the key concepts that we must really understand, and a key practice that we must strengthen if we want to be really relevant in an ongoing, sustainable way the faster that things change in the world around us. So if you look at the definition of reinventing, it really means to kind of change to such a degree, in such a profound manner, that something appears entirely new. You see synonyms like remake something, or as my music producer friends in California would say, remix something, right? Until it's something entirely indistinguishable, something that is your own, that is born of your own passions and your own perspective. And it's also about regenerating energy, regenerating value in ways that could not necessarily have been seen before. Now, if we want to do that, there's a lot of traditional strategic analysis kind of methodologies out there. All good strategy firms will bring you through their SWOT analysis and, kind of a good competitor analysis, and take a look at the changing market conditions, and maybe even map out how some of the known competitors are handling the uncertainty. All very solid traditional ways of looking at the strategic terrain. But what I would submit to you is that the challenge today is to move as fast as the world is changing, and to also make space for rethinking and reimagining how we may add value in an entirely new way. And that means a different approach. It can be in tandem with whatever strategic kind of analysis you're doing. But I think minus this assessment, we're missing something at the personal, team, or organizational level. So let me share with you 4 approaches, 4 components that I find essential in this process of reinventing, whether it's reinventing myself for another phase of my career, my life, or even a project, whether it's reinventing the team or the organization for what disruption has delivered onto its doorstep. So the first step in my experience is to make space first and foremost for what you're ready to reset. In my Recalibrate for Impact Leadership Accelerator, we use something called the Pisa method, which is taking a look at, if you think about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, sometimes we build and build and build in our own lives until we realize that we haven't necessarily built a strong foundation of value based on our core passions or our core interests as individuals, or from a team or organizational perspective on what the core value it is that we offer to others. And over time, we fail to pause. We fail to reconsider how the world is changing and how the disruption might invite new possibilities. So we end up kind of like a Leaning Tower of Pisa that's about ready to kind of topple over. And so the first step is, and through a series of exercises in the Recalibrate for Impact Accelerator, we uncover what's wanting to be revealed amidst these challenging times and these changing structures. A first step in this ready to reset, getting ready to reset for yourself, this first step is to just acknowledge what's not working. What's not working in your personal life, in the personal way that you identify yourself, what your identity is as a leader, how you define yourself, what your practices are. As a team and organization, what's not working? Let's just face it, look ourselves in the mirror, acknowledge that this is broken, and then consider at least 10 to 15 possibilities that this disruption offers us that did not exist before this disruption or the latest series of disruptions happened. So that's step number 1. The second step that I usually take is to then pause and kind of reimagine what that new identity might be. So if I'm going to release something, the way that I have defined myself as a leader, the way that we as a team or an organization have structured ourselves, now new possibilities exist, right? So giving space and time for an individual or a team to then rethink, who do I choose to be? What kind of leader do I want to be? It can be something as simple as keeping in your same vein of excellence or your subject matter expertise, but defining yourself more distinctly. So for example, if I choose to be the leader that begins conversations that instill hope and a sense of limitless possibilities where none seem to exist, and I identify that as the kind of leader that I am, that means I'm gonna be showing up and actually practicing different things on a day-to-day basis. My team and I would actually have to have meetings where we are rethinking and taking challenges where there seems to be no way forward and unpacking them, unearthing the assumptions, flipping them on their heads, and finding the one possibility and way forward. We'd have to be well practiced in that, like a muscle that's kind of being built, right? And in fact, that's indeed what we're doing, my team and I. At the same time, teams and organizations that have decided to reimagine themselves really have to get clear first on what's broken and then how they want to address the customer points of friction that clearly must exist if some processes are broken, and rethink how they not only want to serve, not just in dollars and cents, right? Not just in products and services, but how they empathically want people to feel as a result of interacting with them. And in that reimagination, it then brings us to the third step, which truly is then to widen our perspective and refresh our view. And we can't just refresh our view from our own vantage point. Most of the time, if something's not been working, it's oftentimes because we've been so heads down, very much convergently focused on what's in front of us and not necessarily attuned to what's changing around us. So the first step is to step back, widen our perspective, and take a look at the marketplace and the needs from a different angle from where we normally stand or observe. That may even mean that we gather a focus group, or we put surveys out. We assemble very quick quick and dirty, design thinking style, engagement with customers who feel our points of friction and can get a sense of what their changing reality is in their words, not ours. And through that fresh perspective, we then get to re-engage our energy and reignite habits that help us step into that new identity. So again, if I'm a leader who's starting conversations around that instill hope and a sense of possibility where none seem to exist, then what kind of habits would I need to have? I mentioned one for my team. Well, what about for myself? I'd probably have to have a personal energy renewal and energy generation practice that could be diet and exercise, certainly, but is there anything else that I could do to take charge of my energy so that no matter how daunting the day or the week looks and appears, I have a practice to reset and rewire my nervous system quickly to then galvanize my energy forward. Same thing for teams and for organizations. Identity-based habits are one of the most powerful ways to drive change. Deciding who you're becoming and what would that kind of person, team, or organization need to be excellent at. Do every day. Be just on top of their game in order to become that new person, team, or organization. I hope this has been helpful to you. In the coming weeks, you'll hear more about how we're evolving everything here in my team as we move to our new brand, which speaks to limitless possibilities where none seem to exist, and actualizing our ideas in new ways. So this concept of limitless actualization is actually where we're headed. And you can hear more about it in LinkedIn and in Instagram in weeks to come. I hope to see you there.